Hi, I'm Chef Robert Straw. I teach here in the Baking and Pastry Arts Department at Sullivan University. Today I'm going to show you how to make pastry cream. It is a form of custard, and the definition of custard is cooked eggs with milk, usually with the addition of sugar. Now technically quiche is a custard because it's cooked eggs and milk, but it would be a savory custard, okay? When you get ready to do this, you get your recipe meased up. The first things you want to do is you're going to take your pan and put in some sugar, and first sugar, and then bring this to where it is steaming or approximately 180 degrees. The reason you're going to do this is this recipe has one called sugar number 1, sugar number 2. Anytime you see that in a recipe, one sugar is being used for one particular step, another sugar is being used for a separate step. That's why it's calling it for separate steps. So we did one sugar in with the milk. Then on the other thing that you're going to have to do is, while you're heating the milk, you're going to take your second sugar, your cornstarch, and your eggs, and lightly whisk them together just a little bit. Then you're going to end up putting them on a mixer and beating them on high speed for approximately 4 minutes. And once you've done that or reached that, so you're going to technically beat it or whip it until it comes to what's called the ribbon stage. And the ribbon stage is when you pull something like this and it falls back down, it looks like a ribbon. Starts going like this. And technically, to reach the true ribbon stage on this, when you pull it up, you really should be able to see it and count to about 5 before it completely dissolves back into the solution, okay? And that's what you need. The reason you do this is it helps make the pastry cream a little bit smoother and a little bit more homogenized. And homogenized means, you know, everything comes together. You lose the individual ingredients and they come together as a whole. So we've got that ready, we've got that ready. Once you've got the pastry cream where it's steaming, and you've got the sugar, the cornstarch, and the eggs to the ribbon stage, then you're going to take the milk off of the heat and just gently whisk in a little bit of milk at a time. And we are doing this very slowly because we are doing what's referred to as tempering. Anytime you are working with eggs, milk, different things like that, you usually have to slowly temper it, because if I poured all of this milk in at once, it would cook the eggs. Okay, so I'm going to probably try and do just a little tiny bit, lightly whisk it, get that mixed in just a tiny bit, then do a little bit more. I can stop and show you kind of what it's looking like as I am adding this. So you're whisking it just a little bit, then you go back and add a little bit more until we get all of this in there. And then we're going to have to put this back on the heat. You know, pastry cream is very, very versatile. You can use it for lots of different things in the bake shop. And after we get this finished, I'm going to show you some finished products that use pastry cream. And I'm still just gently whisking it in. Now usually when you're tempering like a hot liquid, they usually want you to temper at least half of the hot liquid into the egg, sugar, ribbon stage consistency. I'm just going to go ahead, I usually prefer to do all of it just slowly. Then it's going to go back in the pot. And then on medium heat, we're going to cook it and continually stir it and bring it to a low boil. And then once it's at the low boil, we have to continually stir it and whisk it for a full 2 minutes. And the reason for this is anytime you are using cornstarch as a thickening agent, you have to bring it to the low boil and cook it for a full 2 minutes. And what it does is it makes sure all the starches start to gelatinize, dissolve. It also ends up making sure that you completely dissolve all the cornstarch. And then when you cool it, it should be the right consistency. So on medium heat, I'm going to start bringing this back. When it starts to set up a little bit, when you can see, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, the milk and the cornstarch solution starting to kind of gelatinize and set up and get a little thick, you've got to take it off the heat long enough to get it combined all together and make sure there are no lumps in it before you then put it back on the stove and re-cook it to the low boil and then cook it for the full 2 minutes. Some people will use pastry cream as like an ice cream base. Some people will mix it in with buttercream frosting to change the consistency and add some additional flavor. Some people will use it as a base for soufflés and then fold in their chocolate or whatever, and then their egg whites. You can use it for a Boston cream pie, of course, is a yellow cake with pastry cream between the layers and ganache or melted chocolate on the top. We said quiche would be a form of a custard, so it's very versatile. You use it a lot in the bake shop. You can make parfaits out of it. You can make a trifle out of it. Like I said, it's very versatile. It's used a lot when it comes to baking. All right, if you look at this now, you can see that it's kind of starting to come together and thicken up. So there's like the thicker pastry cream in the middle and still the milk. This is where you kind of have to take it off and really whisk it well to make sure there are no lumps in it before you continue to cook it. And that way it helps keep the pastry cream very, very smooth. So see, I'm just slowly getting that incorporated. All right, so once you've got that done and it's starting to look more like regular pastry cream, you're not still just seeing cream that hasn't come together with it. Then you put it back on the heat, make sure it comes to the low boil, and then you have to continually cook it and stir it at the low boil for the full 2 minutes because we said we're using cornstarch as the thickening agent. Okay, if you look at this now, I don't know if you can see how it's starting to bubble? Do the low boil. So that's why I've got to do it and keep it on here, and now I'm going to have to cook it for a full 2 minutes while I am whisking it. Okay, so I've now done it. It was 2 minutes at the low boil. See the consistency of it? Still barely bubbling a little bit. That's good. Then at this point, you're going to take it and cool it in an ice bath. On the pastry cream, I said we're going to go ahead and cool it now. There are 2 ways to cool pastry cream. You can do it in an ice bath, put it in here, and every once in a while take it out of the water to stir it. You shouldn't leave it in the water because if the ice starts to melt and the water comes up too far on the pan, somebody hits the bowl, hits the side of the bench, whatever, you can get water in there, and then the consistency of it would be off and the taste or the flavoring. This is probably the quickest way. The other option is sometimes people will get a half sheet pan, a full-size sheet pan, spread the pastry cream out on it, and put it under refrigeration. And what it does is, though, it usually will cool it a little bit faster. The problem is sometimes you get more of a skin on it. But you can put saran wrap on it, but you've got to be careful. You can't put the saran wrap on when it's too warm, or it'll start getting condensation and moisture forming on it. So that's the 2 ways to cool it. Most of the time I usually just do it in the ice bath, and then you cool it down to whatever consistency you want so that you're going to be able to use it for different things. When you're cooling it down for a coconut cream pie, you've got to cool it down to the point where it feels like close to room temperature. If you put the filling into a pie crust when the filling's too warm, it traps heat in it, condensation and moisture forms, it goes down into the bottom of the crust, and the crust gets soggy, okay? On the other hand, like if you're doing a parfait glass, you want this cooled down enough. If you had it too hot and put it into the glass, what would happen to it? It could shatter. Another thing that we've got here that we're finishing that you use pastry cream for is Eclairs. And I think Chef Willem's going to show you how to do pot au choux in a minute. But different things you make out of pot au choux, you can use pastry cream as the filling. Cream puffs also have just a little, they're the round circular. They are cut in half, then usually do a little bit of pastry cream in the bottom, then pipe the whipped cream on top, and then put the top half on it. So as you can see, like I said, pastry cream is very versatile, and it's used for lots of different things in the bake shop.